Okay, guys. Well, welcome to the second hour here with Jason Verbelli. Well, we're going to start with into a little something a little bit different than the first hour. Well, let's start about consciousness and how we are so connected. Ramon just brought up. Why don't you go ahead and explain that again, Ramon?
Well, I was watching David Wilcox's latest video, and if you find his YouTube channel, it's on there, the full video. And basically how certain people would come up with, and I can't remember all the inventions, but certain inventions will come up at the same time, and people will put the patent for it at the same time, having no relations with each other. So, for example, what's not really known is that when the Wright brothers came up with the flying, with the first airplane, somebody else actually achieved it either the day before, the same day, or the day after in New Zealand, which no one ever mentions that one. But especially back then, there was no connections, no internet. I mean, it would have taken weeks for anybody in America to even know that happened, if not months. So
That's really interesting. That's same thing back in the late 1800s, mid 1800s to the early 1900s. All these people, Walter Russell, John Keeley, Victor Schauberger, Ed Leedskalnin, Pierre Aquina, all these guys were developing this vortex type technology or implosion or spinning magnets. Everything has to do with the same energy, and all these guys are achieving it. No clue, Walter Russell, Tesla knew about each other's work, but a lot of these other guys never directly met with each other or even might have heard the other work, but they're doing it at the same time all around the world. And everything comes in waves. There's a lull, and then there's a high point, and I guess it's every generation or every other generation, it seems, because this type of stuff is happening again. It's just very, very strange.
So are these guys pulling out this information from a light source, you can say? Being that if we go with what Walter Russell says, that light is standing still, so are we pulling this information out from there? Because as soon as I think a thought, it turns, since thought is energy and energy is light, it's everywhere at one point, and then other people can pull it down instantaneously.
Yeah, well, all things that are the result of two other things converging. So your idea had to come about because you were influenced by another idea. So that idea converged with another one, and you just came up with a new one. As two things collide, or two things converge, rather, a new thing forms.
Yeah. So, what would be the science behind explaining how certain ideas come up at the same time with having no connections?
That's something that is not for science to answer, because science concentrates on the measurable and testable universe, all things that we can measure. So once two things converge, as they are going through each other, you can test something, because then we can see it, measure it, and but by itself, by an idea itself, or love, or consciousness, or how much life something has, you can't measure that. You can't measure a cause, but you can measure an effect. And so there's no scientific, you can't observe an idea, so there goes the scientific method.
Right. Well, we don't observe the atom either, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Or black holios.
Right. So, the name of our show is The 100th Monkey, and I'm really intrigued with this effect that we are experiencing on this planet. The consciousness of people is growing, and it's spreading. And that's I see this as that same effect as the what Ramon was explaining, and you were explaining about the vortex. And I don't know. I'm really excited about this time in history right now.
It's yeah. There's the implications of this information are just beyond anything we can imagine. Perhaps the reason why we are coming up, or humanity in general is coming up with this information again, is, you know, history repeats itself. Maybe reincarnation has something to do with it, and the same people are coming up with the same ideas, or, you know, it's that information somehow carries in the DNA, the physical DNA, so that it is in the genes, and some people have more access to it than others, and perhaps there's some sort of, I don't know, magnetic energy or some sort of stimulant that will turn on certain receptors or certain, you can try to explain it in a physical sense, and maybe it gives you access to those memories or information that's already within you. Because according to a lot of these ancient concepts, everything you want to know is already within. The light is within you, and all information is within the light. Everything comes from the light. Everything will return to it. Everything is in motion, will return to a state of rest. Even an idea. An idea is set in motion like the vibration of a string. You pluck a string, and it vibrates until that sound dims out. But before you even pluck the string, the energy was already set in motion. But all we see is the moment after you pluck the string, we can measure, you know, the sound. But the string was already set in motion at the instant you had the intention at plucking the string. But we can only measure its movement after you pluck it physically. But the second you actually decide to do something and you take action, you move, the idea itself is in motion. Therefore, you just conceived that idea, or, you know, the birth of something comes before the physical action, in other words.
Right.
We can never measure the cause, because the cause is always an idea.
You know, there's something I always hear, and that is when someone comes up when, let's say, a new movie comes out, or a new book, or a new idea, whatever it is, and it becomes public, I always hear other people say, you know, I was thinking that same thing, but they never followed up on it. And it almost seems like these ideas get seeded in several hundreds of people, and of course only a few follow it all the way and actually water the idea and make it grow.
I mean, there's, like, you know, if you get a sudden, you know, feeling that, oh, you know, somebody pops up in your head, and then 30 seconds later they call you. What is that? Why does that happen? That's the stuff that I want to know, and there's no scientific explanation, because it happens with me and my friends all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, we have like a system set up now. We don't even, you know, it's just a known thing. We don't even, oh my God, it happened again. No, it is what it is. It happens, and we recognize it. And I think the more that you acknowledge it, the stronger it becomes.
Agreed.
Yeah. I remember David Wilcock, and don't quote me, I think he said something that by the 1930s, the scientists had written down 122 different inventions that were invented at the same time. Something like 122 different ones by the 1930s or 40s. Which I highly recommend people to watch that.
I mean, look at today. We have Marco Rodin, we have John Bedini, we got all these other things like Stern coming out, Andrea Rossi, all these people, you know, in Australia, and these cars that run on water, Stan Myers, and all these hydrogen technologies from around the world. People are starting to figure it out and they're starting to associate sound and vibration with energy generation. And that concept alone, maybe like this concept of light being still, you know, it's just trying to come back around again, because all these pyramids and with hieroglyphics in it seem to point to that. And if you look at folklore and legends and the stories of ancient peoples, there's a lot to correlate with light being still, and these things coming in waves and ideas coming again, and cycles. We have to think cyclically. Think about cycles rather than just being objective or thinking like a one-way street. Everything is a cycle. Everything comes in waves. And when you look at something a certain way, it might not seem like a wave. It might just seem like, oh, this is going to last forever, or this is just a one-way. No, there's always a transition. There's always an inverse. And when people start to think cyclically, I think we'll be able to, combine the two types of energy that we're not discerning, and then be able to harness that better.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention, for those of you listening, a huge majority of you guys listening are part of the Esoteric Mystery School on Facebook. And me, Tom, and Jason are all members, so I would suggest we always share like a lot of new videos and stuff. And Jason, you also share a lot of stuff on there. That's actually
thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of good posts on there. A lot of good people.
Yeah.
I talk to more brilliant people on Facebook than I do encounter in everyday life. I guess maybe it's because people open up more because they just type out their feelings or something, but I just get a lot better feedback when people can send me their insight through their words, and they can send me, pictures or links or things to support their thoughts, because all of us working together and forming these groups, it helps all of us together. We all learn together, and nobody is above learning. Everybody can learn something new. Everybody has something to add. And when we, Esoteric Mystery School on Facebook or my YouTube channel or whatever forum it may be, just get involved, talk to people around you, and see what we can do just to communicate this information and to get people to see more options. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the way these, to get back into their work, the way these vortex work, does your body also produce the same type of vortex?
Yeah. From the heart. First of all, the heart is an implosive engine, and then it explodes the blood out. So it's like there's converging energies, and there's pulses every time things converge. And the heartbeat is a reflection of that. Frank Chester, his work with the heart, heart math, and all of this stuff is absolutely brilliant. Vortexes, like talking about the pineal gland in the brain, and the caduceus, representing the serpents wrapping around the spine, or coils going down in a cone. So we do harness this energy. And in the martial art aspect of it, it's called chi, or Japanese call ki. And it's the same energy: ether, orgone, ki, prana. It's all the same stuff. And these machines seem to harness that type of energy. It's not electrical. It's not magnetic. It's some other cosmic force. It's like a life force itself. And it's what is the cause of all other things. It's what allows all other things to be and act. And if you can connect or resonate or get in touch with those higher sources, higher beings, higher energies, whatever we want to call it, then we can start to manipulate, electricity and magnetism. First we have to get a hold of these higher, what some people call light atoms, or magnetic atoms, or the thing that is not there. There's the positive, and then there's the negative, and then there's the neutral, or the fulcrum, or the neutron, or something else. There has to be a third wave, and that's a lot of this stuff is like Marco Rodin's coil. 2 wires, they're forming a vortex of energy. Pierre Ighina, his 2 coils converging. Walter Russell talking about twin vortexes. John Searle's machine. sucks in energy in the top, and everything is talking about vortexes, and everything is correlating with that. But current math and science is all about straight lines.
Yeah.
Everything traveling in a straight line in space, but nothing travels in a straight line in space.
Yeah, well, it's like they say, the world. What is it? The way you perceive the world is the way you see it.
Yeah. And
So,
there's a lot more to the world if you're looking at it in 3D rather than flat.
oh,
Yeah,
tell
nature
that to those guys.
nature doesn't produce straight lines.
Never. What we see as a straight line, and you go and you zoom in, is actually little compacted spheres together or little swirls together. But when you zoom out, if you have a ruler and you hold a ruler in front of you or a straight razor blade, it looks straight, and then you zoom in with a microscope. Oh, that thing's made of molecules, and it's actually spherical in nature. But a bunch of those spheres compacted together look like a straight line when you zoom out.
Yeah.
But it's truly not a straight line. Nothing is straight.
Yeah,
Water never flows in a straight line. Energy doesn't flow in a straight line. Everything's spinning. All direction is curved, and all motion is spiral. It's another one of Walter Russell's quotes.
I forgot who was the ancient person who said that as well. It was in Egypt. He had measured that the world was actually curved. And what he did was he went from Alexandria to somewhere else and measured. He had like 2 sticks in the ground, and he would go from place to place and measure how they would curve, and he noted the difference. And then that's when he said, okay, the world is curved and not flat.
I think Archimedes developed a system like that too.
I think that's who you're talking about.
I think it might have been Archimedes. There goes another guy who was way beyond his time.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, Archimedes and Plato. Plato was absolutely brilliant, and Aristotle, who was studying under Plato, I think he twisted a lot of his information, and he was like Edison to Tesla. There was another guy named Democritus, and Democritus isn't really taught. Nobody knows about him because Aristotle got all the credit. But Democritus studied with Plato or under Plato around the same time, so why aren't we, at least shown their alternative perspectives? Aristotle or Democritus said that everything was made of tinier things, and you could call those things atoms. And Aristotle said, well, if everything was made of atoms, and those little things would fall to the earth like tiny pebbles, so there must not be such things as atoms because they would all fall to the ground. Nothing can float in the sky. And everybody said, yeah, Aristotle, you're great. And then everybody developed their system of philosophy through Aristotle, and Democritus was left to,
It's funny how they still use his name, though.
Yeah.
Democracy.
Yeah. Supposed to be. Well, democracy is really just a lynch mob. You have to have a democratic republic.
Well, that's what it is. Mob rules.
Republic. Yeah, mob rules. Yeah, we can have everybody in this room say you're wrong, and that's a democracy. But it's not really a democratic republic where people vote and have an opinion, an informed opinion. To have an informed opinion, you want to vote.
Yeah.
People don't.
So, what are we going to do about this planet, Jason?
Well, we can do what we can. We can look at this information. We can test things ourselves. Do your own research. Don't have somebody interpret a text for you, whatever that book may be, and experiment. Have fun. Just play around, with water, with magnets, with. Don't play around with electricity and water at the same time, but experiment with what you want and what you can, and be safe, and just talk to people and have fun. Turn off the TVs. Main thing. There you go.
Yeah, that's a
More
good
fun
start.
outside or with stuff.
Yeah, I actually don't own one. Me and my wife been going back and forth about getting a TV, and I keep convincing her because I'm like, okay, once we get a TV, then we have to spend money on the cable. Then, we want to get this and we want to get that, and we're just gonna be hemorrhaging money. And she's like, oh, you got a point.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, do you want to watch TV or do you want to travel around? And she was like, travel.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit better option.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is the best form of TV.
And there's on YouTube and on the internet, you get like much better accurate sources of information. Not everything on the internet is real, but you always have to check your sources, whether it be on the mainstream media, the internet, a library, or whatever. But there's no news like in the news. You say, the news means what's new, what is going new, what new is going on here. But there's nothing new about the news. News stands for north, east, west, south. They point you in every direction other than the truth.
I like that. I like that. I like that.
I mean, and I'm not talking about our listeners, but the majority of people do not want to take responsibility for themselves. They find it so much easier to blame someone else and get their information from somewhere else. Let them do the work, and I'll just listen.
I think that's just programming too, because they see that's what other people do. They shift the blame, political arena. They just shift the blame, shift the blame. But if you look, there's a thing called thank you news, and you're not gonna find it on TV, but look it up. Thank you news. It's all happy stuff, all beneficial and uplifting news.
Hmm.
And there's not, so it's just a different channel and a different perspective on things. And
It's on YouTube.
yeah, on YouTube, thank you news, or just type it in Yahoo or Google or whatever search engine. And the presenter, the host, is just just a nice guy, and they have nice people running it, and it's just uplifting information, and it's just refreshing. It's just refreshing to see something uplifting, talking about cool stuff, and just mentioning happy things for a change, instead of stock market's crashing again. There's persons, this, and it's horrible. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I I don't get it. I mean, I remember being a kid, and every night, at the time my aunt was living with us, and every single night, she, after watching the news, she always said the same thing. Oh, the world is ending. Look
Hmm.
at all the terrible things. And that just, every time she said that, a little bit of myself just pushed away from the whole news more and more.
Well, you'll have to thank
Yep.
her for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy we had on our show. His name is Kurt Nugent, and he says that sometimes you need those contrasts in your life. So
Yeah.
when you have these naysayers, or these as Stanton Freedom likes to call them, debunkers, and they're just like poo-pooing all over everything, you kind of, it's a good contrast to have.
Jim Mars calls them Nazis. Notsees.
Not C's. Oh God, that's good. That's good.
That's funny.
Yeah, we got these just great people. We just need to look at the information and see what we can take from it, and go from there. There's a lot of information to go through, like my Facebook page, that flyer, Walter Russell's work. Just everything we can to the listeners. And just see what we can do, and look at the information, have an open mind with it, and try to communicate with me. Contact the other people that you have interest in, contact him directly. That's how I met Professor Searle. I had interest in his information. I was just watching his videos. I contacted him through his email, and he actually answered me back. If you wanted to get a hold of Snoop Dogg, good luck. Can't email him and get an answer back. But if you want to email, a different type of hero,
unless you got a half pound of no,
but, these guys. The point is, John Bedini and John Searle and all these people, they'll answer you back and they'll communicate with you. That was what got me really interested. It's like, wow, everybody's ridiculing him. Same people who have ridiculed him actually talked to him? Nope. Most of the people have not. So it's a matter of just listening and trying to contact the people whom you have interest in and giving it a chance. And the more that you seek, the more that you'll find.
So true.
Yeah. Something has validity. It has a sense of urgency. So if you see something valid that is not, being focused on, bring it to other people's attention so that it can be talked about and studied. Because you think it's valid, somebody else should hear about it. Speak up.
Now, I saw something you just posted on your Facebook, a little cone-shaped spirals, little sculptor type thing. What exactly is that? I think you said that it's supposed to help plants grow, and
yeah, that is it's called a passive resonator. Something that's passive means it just sits there. You don't have to do anything with it. Don't have to add power. It just does what it does by its shape and by its color, or just by being there. So this thing is made of all aluminum. It's made of 9 coils, but these coils are shaped in cones, like little vortexes. All of them are clockwise. 3 of them are yellow, 3 of them are blue, 3 of them are green. The yellow ones are pointing down, the blue ones are pointing up, to represent the 2 vortexes converging. Wherever yellow and blue converge in nature, there is green. Wherever sun and water converge in nature, there is life. So if we use these simple principles, we can create a state of energy around us to promote life, just like pyramid energy. If you put fruits in a pyramid, they'll last longer. Science can't explain it.
Right.
If you put your razor blades to shave yourself in a pyramid, they will stay sharper for longer. And this device made of aluminum with coils seems to project that same type of energy. And I just recreated that from a guy named Pierre Luigi Aquina. And he's also on the flyer. So I want to see if this works, because it seemed to work where he was in Italy. And so that's something really interesting. I just posted a video on Facebook a few hours ago showing that little device, my rodent coil, and 2 water enhancers, 2 different types, one with magnets and one with little spheres. And all of them are to accelerate plant growth, and all of them are documented science. But the science is just not promoted.
So when you made the rodent coil, did you just hang it by your plants, or?
What I did is I ordered a signal generator so that I could send specific frequencies through the coil. And it's when you send a 432 hertz tone through one coil and a 512 hertz tone through the other coil, and those 2 vortexes will pass through each other, and for some reason those 2 frequencies cause a lot of benefit. They heal things and promote rapid growth. So I'm going to have water passing through the center of that coil while it's being powered, and I'm going to energize the water that way, and then send it through the magnets, enhance it that way, and have it sitting next to this passive resonator to enhance the plants that way. So I'm just going to see what these technologies can do, and how effective they are in my own experiments.
Yeah, you can click right onto his on his page, and we'll have all those things posted up.
Yeah, like visit fractalfield.com. That's Dan Winter's work, and he'll show what he has is imploder nozzle. And it's called the imploder nozzle, which is just this spiraled nozzle with magnets and a pipe, and the water goes through it and it accelerates plant growth. And all that information is on my YouTube page, is on my Facebook page, and you can just talk to me about it too. Just contact me, and I can send you all the information I have.
Yeah. I'm always wondering what would have happened if Tesla or I keep forgetting his name.
Russell.
Walter, thank you. Walter Russell, if they had a YouTube channel.
Well, a lot of Walter Russell's work is on YouTube, but if they had one directly, well, I don't know if they would have one. They'd be too busy building the newest space machine.
Yeah.
We'd already be up in space.
Yeah, I mean, even in their time, I think if they would have been given what they needed, we definitely would have, before their life would have ended, definitely would have been up in space.
We can still do that in our generation, less than a generation. If these technologies are funded and given equal credence to NASA or CERN, we could feed the world and explore the world rather than bomb the world.
Yeah, that sounds like a better idea. Speaking of, let's talk. We haven't touched upon that. Some of John Searle's machines actually would take off and just keep going.
Yeah, the original devices, over the course of 35 years, built 41 working models. The first original models he built, the magnets spun so fast, and he magnetized them in such a way as they kept accelerating around this magnetic ring. And these things just kept spinning. He couldn't stop them. And the first one was levitated up to his roof, or up to his ceiling. And he tried to get it down. His hands froze to the device because it got so cold. The faster the magnets spin, the colder it gets and the less it weighs. And then his landlady hit it with a broom handle and poured warm water on his hands and got his hands off of the device, and they broke it. The second one he put together blasted through his roof. He had a 60-ton shear pin to hold in this cable to hold this thing in place. He said, okay, if this stupid thing wants to fly, then I'm just going to hold it down. Because nobody taught him that things aren't supposed to fly. So he did it anyway. And when he held this thing down, the more force that you hold it down, like a basketball underwater, the more you try to hold the basketball deeper underwater, the more it wants to fight with your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So this machine, you can equate it to a magnetic pressure. And the more that you try to hold this thing down, the easier it is for it to fly up. So it didn't just stick to his ceiling the second time. It blasted through his whole roof and almost brought the roof down. So this, and that happened multiple times. From 1968 to 1972, every third Sunday of the month, Professor Searle would fly these around in public, demonstrating them for the people in the UK. And the BBC interviewed him, and they have the footage of one of his flying demonstrations from April 1972. You could look that up. Look it up under the BBC archives. They have a master clip. And I know I've tried to personally get it myself. I've contacted the BBC, and it's all they're all happy to work with you. You send them a couple letters. Oh yeah, we'll get that footage for you. What was the number of it? You give them the information. Sure, we'll look it up. Next week they come back. We couldn't really find it. Oh, we'll keep in contact with you. Here's another contact. A few weeks more go by. They get less friendly until they drop all communication altogether. So they have the footage. Their own archives show that they have it. But that's the only existing footage of him demonstrating that. The rest of it was burned when Midland's Electric Board burned his house down.
Wow.
Like Tesla's laboratory was burned and all of his research was gone. And same thing with Professor Searle, but we have a chance to rebuild his stuff now.
How old is he now?
78.
Hmm.
And he is currently in the UK, and he will be coming back to the US and Southern California to the research and development facility. We set up in Southern California as of September of 2010, and we have now a lot of scientific equipment, 6,000-pound magnetizers that we still need to work on. Those need to be opened up and add another coil to it and modulate those. It takes a lot of work. So if we had professional engineers, a team working full-time for 8 months, we could recreate this. We could recreate this device, or at least a part of it, to show that magnets can keep spinning without something powering it.
So, if somebody wanted to help out, how would they? What should they do? Who should they contact?
They contact Professor Searle directly through, or Bradley Lockerman, and that can be done through searlesolution.com or johnsearlestory.com, or the third website, swallowcommand.com. And that stands for Seek with All Love, Love Overrules War. Swallow Command. Seek with all learning, love overrules war.
Nice.
And so you can contact Bradley Lockerman on any of those three sites, and there is an investment page to look into to see what the technology is about. And I would very much encourage people to give serious consideration to this man and his technology, what he has to offer all of us, because this is some amazing stuff. I personally consider it the epitome of what humanity can achieve for the next 100 years, at least.
Yeah. Do they have a place where we can donate?
Well, no, because donations are only applicable to nonprofit organizations, and Searle Magnetics is eventually going to be a for-profit business, which will sell the SEG and the magnetic parts. And all we have now to sell is the John Searle Story DVD. So you can't donate to a for-profit business. It's illegal. You can only invest or give contributions. You can't fundraise or donate to a business. There's legalities and technical things, and it's a nightmare trying to get this thing funding. The only way to get funding is through a venture capitalist or an angel investor or somebody who cares.
As Bob Dean loves to say, there's bullshit in politics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As Jack A. Fresco says, this shit's gotta go. Whole system.
I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to record that part where Bob Dean says that, and
I love that man. That guy, I've had the opportunity to meet him two different times at the International UFO Conference. He's the most cordial and articulate and just respectful gentleman that I had the pleasure to meet.
Oh, and he's such a ladies' man. Like he just knows how to talk to women. Like he's what's the word?
Oh yeah, all of us free
suave. He's suave.
Yeah, we had a chance to meet him too at the Isetti Ranch. He's just an amazing guy. Actually, we had a chance to take him to the airport too.
That's yeah. I had a chance to sit down with Richard C. Hoagland, and his lady, Dr. Robin Falkov. Same thing. These brilliant people, really wonderful minded people. Most of these guys who I've met are who are considered, crackpots or esoteric, are the most brilliant and methodical and sane people that I've ever met. And it just takes meeting them to figure that out. And a lot of people speak before they act.
Yeah.
Well, most of us has figured out that there's a little bit more to life than the mechanical side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even with, for example, people use words without knowing what they mean. Like they'll say, "Oh, that's esoteric. I don't look into those kind of things," and they don't even know what the word means. The word.
Oh, what I wanted to. You just reminded me of something. A lot of people speak without knowing the meaning of words, but a lot of people do math without knowing the meaning behind the equations and the numbers. Now, they're 1 + 1 = 2. That's great.
Oh yeah.
But 1 what plus 1 what? You have to give meaning to the numbers. Every number actually represents something in reality. You can't just have a 1 plus a 1 in reality. 1 what? 1 apple plus 1 person? 1 person plus 1 person? 1 apple plus 1 apple? What are you talking about? You can't just have an integer in reality. So the teaching kids math and the concept of 1 + 1, that's great. Teaches them how to count their fingers, their toes, and work around this tiny little mind frame on Earth. But if you want to understand John Searle's law of squares or philosophy, you have to understand what things actually represent. You have to, you can't just add one item plus another item that doesn't have any meaning. 1 pen plus 1 engine, what are you going to do? You're going to break the engine by sticking the pen in there. Like, how are you going to add those things together? 1 gear plus another gear equals part of a machine. 1 apple plus 1 person equals a meal. What are you adding together? You have to add value. And that's what John Searle's law of squares and ancient concept of magic squares does, is it works with numbers that actually represent things, and you could put those numbers together in such a way as to build a machine according to nature, according to nature's laws. But you have to know what numbers represent what concept is valid. You can't build free energy machines with speeds of light. But if you go with the concept that light is still, light is rest, and positive and negative balance each other out on either side of light, then you're like a seesaw. Then you can start to look at things differently. But just that implication of looking at things differently is so profound. It takes time to work with it. So what we need to do is just speak with meaning, act with passion, and try to understand what the true meanings of things actually represent in life, in reality, without just going through the motions or going through the numbers. Yeah. You can listen to a robot play a piano, it can hit the notes, or you can listen to Mozart actually play and feel. You can feel his emotion in his music. But a robot just pressing buttons, he did it correctly. The math is correct. He did those notes, but there was no feeling, no meaning.
No oomph.
Yeah, you have to add the meaning, the passion, and the consciousness behind it. So you have to give things value.
Right. And, well, when you do that, when you do give things value, then mathematics takes on a whole new form, because if you, like, I don't remember if this was in your paper or not, the twin vortex paper. I just read it recently, but it made so much sense. If you add 1 apple plus 1 apple, that doesn't really equal 2 apples. That equals 1, or that equals
almost 2 apples.
Almost 2 apples. Yeah.
That apple that you're adding is already in a state of decomposition by the time you're going to add it. So what is 1 whole apple? This one has a shorter stem than that one. This one is slightly bigger. So what is 1 whole apple? You can't just add 1 plus 1, because nothing is whole. Everything is in a state of decomposition or degrading. So almost 1 plus almost 1 equals almost 2. Almost 1 apple plus almost 1 apple, But I've had people tell me, oh, that's too technical. I'm like, well, I thought math was an exact science. So you're telling me I'm being too technical mathematically? Well, no, now you're interjecting philosophy into it.
Well, yeah, but Einstein, see, the universe is alive. Come on.
Einstein said that religion without science is lame, and science without religion is mindless, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of how you look at things. And the concept of light not traveling at all is there's just a lot of information. So I just encourage people to look into that and try to look at it through, like Brooks Agnew would say, look at it through light's perspective. If light is still and all other things are in motion, what would how would you think? What would you feel? What would you be? You wouldn't be, you'd just be.
Well, here's something that when I read the first sentence, it blew my mind. I had to step back and start thinking. When you look at a plane flying towards you, the first thing I think is, oh, a UFO, because it's not moving. Well, you think it's the plane's not moving, but really the light's not moving. So it gives the illusion that the plane's not moving. So, I mean, just looking at that alone really throws you into a loop, because there's so many times you look at this plane in the sky coming towards you and it looks like it's not moving until it turns, and then you're like, oh, it's a plane that's moving. But you
relative perception.
Yeah.
Relative perception has everything to do with the way you look at things. You can see things as a straight line, and then you look at it from the side and you say, oh, that's really a ring. Or you can look at something on a really small level and say, oh, that's a particle. But then you look at it from the side and you're like, oh, I was just looking down the top of a vortex. I was looking at the hole in the hurricane and calling it a particle. I was filling in the void with what's not there. So when we look at something, we're seeing what's not there. Like when you interpret the color green, you're seeing every color but green. When you see the color blue, you're actually seeing every color but blue. We see what is not there. We fill in the void. And on a micro scale, they call those elementary particles. On a macro scale, they call them black holes or stars. But it's just a vortex in the way that you look at it, or there are two vortexes going through each other. And as those two vortexes go through each other, it allows you to see the still light that is already present. The light isn't moving at all. The electric waves are moving. And those electric frequencies are allowing you to see the light that is already there. But we associate those electric frequencies with light, because in order to see that light, you have to generate those frequencies. So we automatically think those frequencies are light. No, they're just allowing you to move the veil of that particular frequency to see what's already there.
Speaking of veils, have you ever seen anything that, like, as far as UFOs, or actually made any contacts?
Oh, God, yeah. I was with Dr. Stephen Greer September 6th of 2008, and about 11:30 at night, I was with 44 other people at Mount Shasta in California, and what looked like a 700 to 800, what we estimate, 800-foot-long disc-shaped craft came out of the mountain and was hovering in the distance a few miles line sight from where we were. We had digital cameras, infrared cameras, magnetometers, thermal imagery, radar detectors, and all sorts of technical equipment. And everything just started going haywire. The radar detector started going off, magnetometer started going off. They got it on film, and this thing was just hovering in the woods, just hovering there. And we're looking through the night vision. Perfect. You could see this disc-shaped craft with this dome on it, and I don't know if they were porthole windows or if those were where the lights were on the side, but you can see distinct lights going around the rim of this craft, and then one vertical strip of lights with what I take to be the rear of it. And this thing was there for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
But after the first half hour, it disappeared from the visible light spectrum, disappeared from the digital camera, but could still be seen in the infrared and was still seen on thermal imagery.
Wow.
It wasn't there on the naked eye, but it was there on the other, so we could tell it was not a forest, no fire. It wasn't a campfire. It was 8,000 feet or a few thousand feet up on the mountain of Mount Shasta. There's no ranger station, no lights. Everything would show up on both spectrums of the camera if it were something conventional. But for some reason they were, it was, and then it just blinked out after 2.5 hours. And it was sending what looked like balls of light. Red balls of light were in the trees around us, white balls of light. They actually got a picture of what looked like this little jet stream of light coming. We were sitting in this circle looking at this thing, and this little probe of light just came in front of the trees, and they caught that on film. I got pictures of that. And then about a month later, I'm at my house, and with 6 of my friends, I see the same type of thing over my house, as big as the moon, just as bright. Started out as a little star and then grew to the size of the moon in about 3 seconds. My friends are freaking out. Look! Look! I look up, and I was waiting for my camera. I had my camera on my lap for hours because I was hoping to see some stuff. I was going through the same protocols we were doing in the woods. And I had my camera on my lap. Nothing. Looking up in the sky after 2 hours. Nothing. As soon as I put my camera down, I'm ready to go inside. My friends start freaking out and pointing the sky. I was like, Jesus Christ. So I didn't even bother to get the camera, of course. So they could take my word for it if you want. At what people would call the speed of light. This thing moved. So it was not a plane, not a helicopter, not a rocket, not a little toy, not an RC motor car. This thing was a magnetic craft, or some, could be ET, could be military. Don't know who was piloting it. Whatever it was, wasn't using gas. I'll tell you that. And, I've had other experiences too, and it's that type of stuff is just like, I mean, come on. Once you have an experience like that, nobody can tell you anything otherwise. So I'm just trying to figure out how in the heck that thing was doing what it was doing. And all these people I research seem to explain that phenomenon. So I want to do that too. I want that in my life. I want to ride around one of those things. I want to see the world from that kind of view. They're not going to come pick us up if indeed they're aliens. They're not going to come pick us up if indeed they're military. So it's up to us to develop that technology and go up there in our own things. And we have the means to do that. We have the technology, but we don't have the funding. And we could be doing this. And like I was told, by a few people, my grandfather's generation was supposed to be living like the Jetsons and driving the hovering vehicles. So needless to say, we're a bit behind.
Just a bit.
Just a bit. Yeah. Let's see. We've had the internal combustion engine for 130 years now? 120 years now?
Yeah.
We're still running on gasoline.
It hasn't changed at all. We're still using the same methods, maybe just newer materials and a different configuration. It's the same technology.
We're not even getting better gas mileage.
No.
Yeah. Isn't there that rumor where Tesla had made a battery that blew one of Ford's cars motor?
I heard he went into a hardware store or something and came out and did something underneath the hood of a car for 15 minutes, and it was running indefinitely. It just had off the one battery, and it would just not turn off, and it would just go as long as forever. It just wouldn't turn off. That was one of those Tesla's myths, but all of his work was burned, so we don't have any way to validate that. But we do know his wireless transmission of energy is very valid, and there's patents and there's technology to do that.
Yeah, actually, the toothbrush, the one, they have the electric toothbrush that has no connections, and you just put it there, and it's using the same concept.
That's an induction. It's using a charging it by induction. They have some cell phone pads now for the iPhone, I think, that you just put your cell phone down on this thing and it charges it. Then you pick it up and it's charged.
Yeah.
But we're talking like major power, a lot of amps and energy, so that you can power your entire house and everything in it, because you're tapping into the ionosphere of the Earth itself. There's charged energy in the sky, So why not just plug into that? And Tesla found out a way to do that.
Yeah,
So,
through the one of those tests that he was doing in Colorado, didn't he like make contact?
um, I think I don't know, but there are people who use different methods of not radio communication, but I don't know how to explain it. But they tune to different frequencies using magnetic waves and other filters. I do not know what they do, but they claim they can see things that normal telescopes can't see, hear things that normal satellites and stuff can't hear, and there is a lot of life out there that we are not looking at correctly. And from what I understand, you have to trap Earth's magnetic field with you when you leave the Earth, or else you're not going to be able to leave the Earth at all. You'll die. It leaves the whole moon landing thing debatable. And there's just a lot of information there. If you trap Earth's magnetic field with you, if you look at someplace else, then you will see life. But if you look through Earth's magnetic field, you'll see a dead moon. And there's just weird stuff and research to indicate that if you look through certain magnetic fields or you look through certain rotating fields, you'll see things that aren't there or that you can't see with the naked eye. And apparently there's a whole world right before our very eyes that we can't interact with, but that's right there.
So
And,
is that what the guy was talking about from Coral Castle?
no, but that's what the guy was talking about from Italy, Pierre Ichina. He developed a microscope. It's called a lenticular microscope. It had like an oval-shaped lens that spun really fast, and it had some scratches or some markings on it so that it did something. Then he had another microscope hooked up to it with a light at a certain angle, and he could multiply 1,600,000,000 times in real time, real color, see a specimen, rather than an electron microscope only seeing millions of times a dead specimen in black and white. So this guy was doing, and then he applied the same thing to a telescope. And he claimed that when he was looking at the moon, he would see a living moon instead of a dead one like we see. And when he looked up in the sky through this certain filter, he would see UFOs flying around that you couldn't see with the naked eye.
So, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So,
Well, yeah, me too. I don't know.
Electromagnetism. I mean, it's an electric universe. It's all based on electromagnetism.
yeah,
And not nuclear.
but from the description, it sounds more like everything's in a different state of vibration,
Different
and unless
frequencies, different
you move yourself to match that vibration, you're not able to see the life on that planet, for example.
Or even experience it for that matter, perhaps. Like, unless you're vibrating at a certain rate or you have a certain magnetic field around you, I don't know. Maybe you have an entirely different perspective or reality, or we can call it a dimension. I don't know. But Earth's magnetic field is unique, and so is every other planet. But when we leave the Earth using rockets, you leave that magnetic field. So if you can trap that magnetic field when you travel, who knows what you'll see or what you can achieve. And there's no way to know until we fund it and do it.
Yeah. How would you go about trapping it? Would it be by using one of these machines?
Yeah, John Searle's technology would achieve that. And from what I understand, Marco Rodin's technology might also be able to achieve that. If you build a donut big enough, you had this thing. And he has like 30 years of research on this stuff, and it's so technical. He funded Marco Rodin and John Searle, and you combine them together, or Otis T. Carr, or I can think of a few other people, but all these guys combined, you can trap the magnetic field by using spinning magnets and a unique magnetization process, at least with John Searle's technology.
Now, would that be trapping a field or just creating a field, or creating another field?
Might be doing both, because from what I can see, it looks like it's creating some sort of a bubble, and I don't know if it's trapping that magnetic field in or if it's generating that in the form of a sphere around you. So it could be both or one. I don't know, but it seems. I haven't seen that in my lifetime, other than it flying over my head.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we want to scientifically study that, we would have to fund it and study it. It's there for us to do. We're waiting.
The way some people explain that they travel is in front of them, they kind of create a hill kind of thing. And I don't know if the gravitational pull would be the right.
Well, you can equate it to going down a hill constantly, but what you're doing is you're repelling all of the stuff in front of you so that there is no resistance. It's as if you are in deep space all the time, even if you're in an atmosphere. So there's like a couple millimeter thick bubble of energy around you that is pushing away all air, pushing away all particles, and it's the air drag that slows you down, and it's the magnetic fields that slow you down. But if you can repel all that away from you, you're going downhill real fast in space. So you can travel at any rate that you want, no inertia and all that.
So let's say I'm sitting on the dome of the UFO outside, and they turn this on. Would I, for example, suffocate? Because
you probably get electrocuted. You have to be inside of the field, because the field only extends as far as the mass of the device.
Oh, okay.
So it extends a little further, but if you build a ship, like, you better be inside the ship, because that field's only going to cover, around that craft. So you're going to have to also bring oxygen bottles with you too, because you're trapping in all the breathable air and repelling all the other breathable air away from you. So you only have as much breathable air as you trap in your field. If it's a small field, you only might have a half an hour or an hour. So you have to bring oxygen tanks with you. Or you just build a bigger ship and then have the right type of plants that can recycle all the air with no filters and no tanks.
I like the big ship idea.
Yeah, but imagine if you didn't, imagine the mistakes people would make. You plan for a long trip, and you start this thing up, and you haven't realized yet that you don't have breathable air, and then by the time you travel out, it's too late. So we can avoid all those mistakes by studying these people's work and just applying that information to what we can, our experiments. Avoid those mistakes by just paying attention, really.
Yeah.
Whoops.
And another thing, bullets can't enter or leave that field. Once it's really started up, it's like the Star Trek force field.
Yeah.
Albacure warp drive. That's a big old, like, Dirac C. The Albacure warp drive, or Minkowski 4D space-time, all these technical things. So bullets can't go past that field. They won't even ricochet off. They'll just change direction and keep going with the same amount of speed. It'll be as if you just bent the bullet around you. But at the same time, if you had a gun on your UFO or your craft and you wanted to shoot somebody, that bullet will probably just bounce around inside of that magnetic bubble and ricochet until it hurts you.
I've heard that about, supposedly, when the Nazis had these
Yes, I was just about to mention that, the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, that's the reason why they never used them because originally they wanted to bomb, one of the ideas was to bomb New York, but they couldn't use it because the ships end up blowing up.
Yeah, like if you just sent a regular bullet, it won't leave that field. So I imagine the poor people that they tested this on, and the first guy to fire a bullet expecting it was going to go where he thought, he probably died. That bullet went with an extreme amount of force. It was isolated in his field. So that probably tore him up. And then Hitler goes, oops, oh well, on to the next one. And then they learned from that mistake, and they kept doing this with all these innocent people, and in their black ops programs or USAPs, unacknowledged special access programs. That's what they turned into today.
Yeah.
And, not even the president has access to these programs. Not even the CIA has access to these programs. Now, under what authority are they being restricted?
That's a really good question. Have you ever felt like somebody or something was guiding you in this kind of work you're doing?
Yeah, but there's no, call them spirit guides or your ancestors or just somebody who's looking out for you. I don't think it's just luck or coincidence. I think there's something else going on. But yeah, I do feel like somebody is watching out for me. I've been in some, close calls in my life, not energy related, just being a kid, and somebody's looking out for me. I've been in car accidents or other people have been driving, not a scratch on me, stuff like somebody's looking out for me and supporting me or doing whatever, but I feel I have some backing or whatever from a higher, whether it be my higher self or my family or whatever it is. Somebody loves me.
Yeah.
And, they're taking care of me.
There
I recognize that.
There was a thread, and I know, Tom, you posted on there. The one, what was it? Have you ever had somebody come up to you and what was it, Tom? Do you remember?
23 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. The angelic.
Angelic, or
I had an encounter with a being that really it opened my eyes to the reality that there are other beings out there that of some kind, call them angels, call them divine messengers, call them your higher self, call them what you will. But yeah, I had an event that left me with absolutely no doubt. So,
have you ever had that kind of?
Yeah, well, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but
you're on the right show for that.
My friend was in some legal trouble, so I was calling around for an attorney for him to try to help him out, and got a hold of this one attorney. His name was Bob Coersham, and I called Bob's office, and this guy was really nice, and I explained to him the situation. He said, yeah, just come on in. We're going to take care of you. Everything is going to be fine. It's going to be free of charge. And I'm going to do this just, pro bono. Just don't even worry about it. Everything is going to be okay. I'm like, dang, this is the best lawyer I've ever heard of. He's not a parasite. This guy's actually offering help and stuff. This is amazing. So I talked to this guy for 20 minutes, and he was assuring me and telling me, your friend's situation, you're probably going to have a fine, only this much. It's going to be this. Don't worry about it. And then he said, tell everybody everything's going to be okay. And I didn't really catch that at the time. I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever. So if we need you, we can come into your law office. He said, yeah, come in tomorrow if you need some help. I'm right here. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I call my friend back. I tell him I just talked to this attorney, and this was great. And my friend said, you know what? Something just happened, and everything's going to be okay. I only need to pay this amount of fine. It's going to be this and this. Exactly what Bob told me. And I was like, well, cool. All right, I'm not going to need Bob's services. So I call back Bob. And I call his law office, and his secretary answers, hello, Coersham and Son, or whatever the law office was. And I say, yeah, may I speak to Bob? I just spoke to him a little bit about coming in there. She said, who'd you speak to? I said, I spoke to Bob, Bob Coersham. Said, hold on, please. All disgusted. I was like, okay. And then this other guy got on the phone. He says, yes, hello. I said, yeah, I just spoke to Bob Coersham. He's a really nice guy. He told me this, and this. I'm not going to need his services anymore because everything's all right. He says, who is this? I'm like, my name's Jason, and I just spoke to Bob. Can I please speak to Bob? Is this some kind of joke? Bob died last year.
Wow.
Holy
I was like, what? Are you? No, let me talk to Bob, please. And he was like, stop playing on this phone. Now getting all angry, and I'm starting to get angry. Like, let me talk to Bob. And I told him, I was like, this is what the guy sounded like. This is his mannerisms. And I told him, like, tell everybody everything is going to be okay. He's like, that was Bob's last words. He started this company, and it was just like, little things correlated. It's like, I just spoke to him for 15 minutes, and they said, you never called here. Like, what are you talking about? I just called the same number, like it was in redial. I just redialed the number. What are you talking about? Bob died last year, so apparently I talked to a ghost or an angel or whatever through the phone. That's what I'm taking it as. Until somebody can prove to me something different, I talked to a dead Bob.
Listen, Bob took care of everything.
Yeah, but after that, my grandma at the time was in the hospital. The next day, she miraculously woke up angry and asking where she was, take her home. I was like, what the? She was like on her deathbed. My other friend who was going to lose his house miraculously the next day got an apartment for $200 less and more square footage, and everybody in my life around me was starting to be okay.
Nice.
Everybody had some issue.
Everybody's going to be okay.
And everything was resolved within the next, 2 days. Everybody's major problems. So I directly attribute that to my experience. Other people can think what they will. Right on. Each to their own.
Wow. That really does sound like Bob took care of everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm taking it as. Thank you, Bob.
Works in mysterious ways.
That was in December of last year, right around Christmas, too.
Wow.
This is an extra, I was going to go in there to the law office with a camera and say, could you please tell me this, in person? I just never did. That they probably think I was just some nutcase. And it would just be confirmed I'm a nutcase,
Yeah. So was that the only experience you had like that?
Well, with
Come on.
No, I've had other ones, but that'd just take a longer time to. We can do that in another show.
Okay.
Give suspense and stuff,
Well, we are at. We're gone over the second hour already, so. Let's see. God, this has been good. Good stuff.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Unless you want to go into that other story, we'll leave it for another show.
Yeah, let's save that for another show and get
good.
Get these guys the info. Let them soak this in. I don't want to melt too many people's minds.
I don't know about that because I've met a lot of our listeners and they got some pretty out there stories as well. So.
Yeah. Excellent. I want to hear them. I want to hear them all. Please contact me.
Yeah, actually, you probably know most of them.
Well, I need all the insight I can get. Maybe we can compare stories and explain
weird
something.
Attracts weird.
Oh yeah, like attracts like. Opposites repel.
Well, I do want to suggest to everybody that they check out your Scribed page and that Walter Russell Home Study course. I'm going to actually go through this myself. So, interesting stuff.
Yeah, I have 34. I have like 15 books by Walter Russell uploaded.
Nice.
Wow.
So there you go, guys. There's your reading for the next couple months, anyways. So.
And then you think you don't have time to write a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any books in the work?
Well, yeah, other than all the material that I've so far compiled on my Facebook page, I've written over 1,000 pages just of my own work, but I'd say about only 200 pages of that is actual substance, because I have, over the course of a few years, have evolved my philosophy, and ever since I started working with Walter Russell's concepts, I have completely changed some of the stuff that I previously wrote. So I'd say, I need all the help I can get if I want to come out with a book. I'd ultimately like to come out with a physics book / etheric book. So every left-hand page has classic mainstream math and understanding. Every right-hand page has the alternate information and opposing view to that.
Oh, that's a hell of a good idea.
Yeah.
But I need the help of like physicists and to get the left-hand pages, and then I need the help of all the the other alternative guys. We all need to work together. That's why it's a very, very big project, and
Send
we
us
need to just compile it.
send me a list, and maybe I can get you in contact with a few guys.
Please.
Because I don't know if he has time, but I know Brooks Agnews is a physicist, so maybe he can.
Yeah, I haven't met him. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, he that's one guy who amazes me with all the different stuff that he does. I mean,
all these, they're absolutely brilliant. They're heroes in my mind.
yeah, I mean, that kind of guy, you can't tell him you don't have time to do something. He'll just look at you and laugh.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you can't tell him you're busy and you don't have time.
yeah.
We all got time.
I've been working on a book myself for quite a while, and same scenario. As I keep growing, everything in the book changes. It's like, oh no,
Yeah.
no, that's all wrong now. What?
Yeah.
Right there?
Every 6 months, I dramatically change my writing, so I never want to come out with the book, and I thank myself that I didn't come out with it the previous 6 months.
Yeah. So the only way I'm going to ever get one actually done would be to do a crash writing where I spend 3 or 4 weeks and just sit and do nothing but write, get it in, get it done, get it done, get it done, and get it all done in a short amount of time, and then just send it out there.
Yeah, I'm at the last stages of editing mines.
That sounds really good. I want to, please send me any information that you guys have because I want to look at that.
Yeah.
There's one funny thing. There's a guy, brilliant guy, Terrence McKenna.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, and he wrote multiple books, on the psychedelics and this consciousness, Time Wave Zero, and he had this one story where he said he was going to quit smoking and quit everything and be completely sober for 6 months and write a book. And he did so, and he had this big joint that he rolled, and he just stared at it for 6 months. He had it over his door, he said. And he said that would be his reward for when he finishes this book. So he wrote this thing for 6 months, and afterward, he finished it up, and he read it, and he thought, wow, this is pretty good. Then he had his reward, and he smoked his stuff, and he read it again and said it was the worst piece of crap writing he has ever written. Threw it out. 6 months of his life, he said, wasted. But the wrong kind of wasted, he said.
Oh, well.
Irony, yeah.
That's hilarious. We're not advocating marijuana use, but
Terrence McKenna's information, from what he used, he offered us a lot of information so we can read his material.
yeah.
Yeah. Amazing mind.
That is amazing, man. Yeah, it's funny. We're getting at the end of the hour, and I'm coming up with all these questions that. We just have to get you back
write these things. Yeah, let's write all these down, and then we need to do another show real quick, and then we can address all those.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I love you all. We better get out of here. Condemnation without investigation. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance. And Ramon, write those questions down.
Yeah, I will.
Thank your listeners too. Thank 100 Monkey Radio and all you guys. You're great.
Hey, Jason. Yeah. Jason, thanks for coming on, and we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, and hopefully we can meet soon so you can teach me some kung fu.
Please. You teach me too.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Yeah.